Hi guys, White Exotics here, and unfortunately my Hysterocrates gigas female passed away, so rather than feeding it to another of my animals or throwing it away, I'm going to try and mount it like I did with my laticeps, which I've got here. So this one came out quite well. As its back was already withering away because I think it died of old age, I didn't need to empty the contents out of the back. But because this one had a nice fall back on it, I've just spent the last half an hour to 40 minutes emptying out the contents of its abdomen. So as you can see, that white stuff there is cotton. And I'm kind of new at this, I've never done this before, but just to get a general idea, to give you a general idea of what I did. So I got some scissors. Probably be better to use a pen knife or something similar, and I just gently cut along the strip of the abdomen on the underside. And then what I did was I got some tweezers and gradually started emptying out the contents. Got super glue here, and I've got a box ready with cardboard inside. I'm going to use pins, which I do have somewhere. I'm going to use pins and then pin those to the box. Once that's all done, I'm going to leave it to dry for a couple of days, and then I'll actually start to mount it. So I do have the mount ready, and the display box as well, which is just one of these, same sort of frame as I used on the other one. So yeah, that's going pretty well so far. So I completely emptied the abdomen's contents out, and then what I did was I got cotton, left those in there to mop up any residue, pulled that out, and then I started putting in proper bits of cotton. So what you'll eventually get is a look like the spider's still alive, it won't wither away. Actually feels quite good, that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a small hole here, and then I'm going to pull out some of the contents from that by messing around in there, and then same again, going to use cotton, and I'll let that dry out. Again, super glue to suture up the wound. But yeah, she was a big girl in the end. I did actually measure her, and she was right around 8 inches, so I wasn't too far off when I said 8.5. It might have even been a little bit more than that, but I'll show you a screenshot in the video towards the end. So yeah, eventually it should look like this, but with a bigger abdomen. As you can see, that one is slightly withered away. Yeah. So unfortunately, guys, there wasn't much I could do. As you can see, she's in an ICU unit, and she just started to sort of bleed through where I left her overnight. So as I opened it, I smelled it was starting to slightly decay, and I could tell she was gone. But yeah, other than that, hopefully this will all go well. I'll mount her properly. I'm going to use pins like these ones, and then you just want to put those through each of the legs. I saw a guide that actually he put them to the sides to hold it in place, but I preferred just to get the pins, push it through. It's going to be quite hard when it actually dries up. You're going to have to really be very careful to hold the box and the pin to try and pull it loose. But yeah, I'm going to update you guys in a minute when I'm a bit further along. Okay, so I'm getting a bit further along now, and what I did was I got these makeup pads. They're not mine, honestly, and just started to take little pieces off at a time to start packing this out. And then I use these to start pushing it across so that the shape starts to fill out a bit. try and attempt to do some of this now. Okay, that's a little bit too big. Half it again. Alright, there we go. I'm going to use these tweezers to push it in. Okay, so now the bottom part of it's done. I've made a slight incision there, and I've gone in there and just mashed it around a little bit. And what I'm doing is just getting pieces of cotton or tissue just to dry up some of this liquid that's coming out of the carapace, and then eventually I'll put some cotton in there as well. And then I'm going to mount that. Now I've applied a layer of adhesive to the hole there and the hole there. This stuff's not the best stuff. I would actually recommend going for super glue, because this stuff doesn't dry properly. And you know, it's holding, but it's not properly sealing it. But it's going to have to do. I've put a dab of adhesive behind and top of the fangs to hold those open. I've not decided yet if I'm going to keep them open, because they might not fit inside the frame. Obviously it raises the spider a little bit. Now I'm ready to start mounting it, so this sheet of card was cut to be the same dimensions as that. I'm going to use these pins, I find them. Use these pins and pin this straight through into each of these segments to hold it in place. Then obviously I'm going to pull that off, put that in the box and leave it to dry. So just need to move it to how I want to display it really at the minute. Remember, this isn't obviously its final mount. Once it's dried, I'm going to super glue it to the mount inside the display box. To stop it moving around, the first pins are going to go in top of the cephalothorax, right inside the foveal groove, which is just here. I'll try and put that in there now. There we go. Okay, so that's in. Obviously, you might want to keep pulling this off if you're doing it on the carpet, because it's going to all start sticking to the carpet. So, yeah, that's the first one. And I just wanted to quickly add, you don't want to be pushing these in too deep, because if you do, when it dries, you're going to have a hard time getting them out. So, just push them in a little way through. Now it's done. Last time I put pins through the femurs as well, but you don't need to do that. I also put a couple of pins inside, in between the chelicerae to hold them open. So now that's ready to go in the box. Just make sure when you do, you put the spider upside down. Sorry, put the abdomen upside down so that it's facing the floor. And that way, otherwise it won't hang like that. So there we go. That's now ready to go somewhere to dry. Okay, it's day 2 and there's no smell to it whatsoever. It looks like there's some green gunge that's dropped out the bottom. That's why I said to put it in the box. But yeah, it doesn't smell at all, so that's good. And I think this will be ready to display in a couple of days. Right guys, it's been about a day and a half, so I think it's about ready to go now. So I'm going to use the actual piece of paper that came with it. It's not card, so if you want to you can cut card and put that behind it, but because I'm quite limited with the amount of width I've got on it, I'm just going to turn this around and stick it to that. The other thing is, you want to leave yourself a lip at the bottom of the paper, and that is to put the label on. So I've left roughly 2.5 inches, maybe coming up to 3, yeah, 2.5. Also gone out and bought some super glue because the other stuff wasn't cutting it. Right, okay. Try to get this out of there. There we go. Hopefully it's going to be alright to frame now, because last time I left it for weeks and that's because I didn't drain out the abdomen. Right, so what you're going to do is get yourself a pencil, and then I'm going to mark off 2.5 inches very lightly, just down the bottom. There we go. On second thoughts guys, I'm going to put this away in an airing cupboard because a day and a half is not enough for it to dry, so let's put it somewhere dry and warm, and yeah, I'll come back to this in about a week. Okay guys, it's been about 5 days now total, and it's probably about ready to go. It might not be fully dried, but I'm just going to try and go with it and stick it to the background, and hopefully it works. Now that's all the pins out guys. I've noticed it's still a little bit floppy, but I think it's about ready to go. As you can see, it's sort of stayed in that position, and I'm not sure if because I gutted it it's staying looser and hasn't dried as quick, but what we're going to do is just go through each of the segments that are touching the ground, and then I'm going to put super glue to each of those pieces, a little bit on the abdomen and some on the fangs. So before I apply the glue, I'm just going to mark underneath each of the legs very lightly with pencil, and that will tell me where to actually position them if they fall out of position, and I think that's about central, so very lightly. There we go, now all sections are glued on. I made a slight mistake up there, as you can see where I had to move the leg a little bit, but that is practically centered. Using a sharp pair of tweezers, I managed to scratch off that little area of hair, and also I went and used the rubber to rub out the light pencil marks I made. So now it's ready to go. Just a final note, I tapped each of these lightly just to make sure that they're all secured, and that way once it's in the frame it's going to hold. Now I've got the card in there and just slightly secure the ends. Because there isn't a lot of width to work with, I'm just very gently closing these ends down, and then I'll try and bend them into shape. That's the mistake I made with the last one. I actually tried to force it and I ended up cracking the carapace, so yeah, do not do that. And finally, one other thing that I'm going to do on both of these now is get some masking tape on the ends here. Just one here, one here, one down here, one down here, just to seal it all in, and that's ready. And there's the final result. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps someone else who's got a tarantula and they want to stuff it. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks guys.